Hello, I'm John Hind, a mediator, a coach, a trainer, director of Compass Resolution and founder of the Family Mediation Team UK. In this video I want to talk to you about the emotional challenge of separation as you try to communicate with your former partner to sort things out for yourselves. I'll give you 7 tips to help you manage strong emotion so that you feel more able to focus on things which need to be sorted out. These 7 tips have worked for me personally and for hundreds of my clients in and outside mediation. Now, I didn't make this video to remind you or indeed belittle how you might be feeling, but to emphasise that these feelings are a very normal aspect of separation, loss and grief. My aim is to help you to keep these emotions in check and firmly in perspective whilst giving them the respect, the time and the attention they deserve. If your separation is recent, the feelings may be very intense and actually sometimes overwhelming. On the one hand, you may be feeling numb, angry, shocked and bewildered, or on the other, quite relieved it's over, albeit with a sense of guilt and responsibility about the impact of your decision. These feelings cannot be avoided, only managed. But how? Well, far too often, early in the separation, I see couples rushing off to court, hoping to get justice, only to find that the more they invest in the conflict and the longer the conflict goes on for, the greater the price they end up paying. So if you're feeling angry and hurt, the question to ask yourself is whether you want these emotions to define your actions and decisions, or whether you want to keep a handle on them and focus on making decisions that are right for you and your children in the long term, despite the circumstances. My hope for you is that by understanding a little more about these emotions, why you're feeling them, and by getting the right support at the right time, you will find a way of sorting out things with your partner in mediation without needing the court, and despite how you might be feeling about them. So, here are my 7 tips to help you manage these emotions. Number 1, seek to understand what's happened and why. Now, I don't advocate long, intense periods of personal reflection, but some reflective questions you ask yourself can be very powerful, whether you do this yourself or with professional help. Ask yourself these questions when something happens which makes you want to react defensively or aggressively. Number 1, what happened? What was said and what was done by you and your former partner? Try to be as factual as you can about that exchange. Number 2, what does it tell you about yourself and your former partner, and indeed the circumstances you're in? For example, you may have reacted to something your former partner has said or done in a way that, well, even shocks you. Number 4, you might then go on to ask, well, what more do I need to do to be able to understand what's happened and why? This might typically involve sitting down with your former partner, taking time to listen and explore all perspectives with or without professional support, and be honest with each other. That's really important. And number 4, what do you need to do next to support yourself, your former partner, both of you together, and the children? Now, this may involve you and your former partner putting aside self-interest and how you're feeling about each other to focus on the greater need. For example, how you're both going to care for your children and ensure they're going to be protected from what's going on. Tip number 2. Don't suppress your emotions. Simply recognise and acknowledge them. They are very real. You don't need reminding of that. They are very real. Again, be honest with yourself and each other. There really are no shoulds here. What do I mean by this? Well, it's not a case of whether you should or should not be feeling this way. It is what it is. They are what they are. They must be allowed to come and to go, observed, experienced, and without judgment. Number 3, accept some responsibility. Be open to accepting and acknowledging some responsibility for your part in the separation. This is often necessary before you and your former partner feel able to move on with your lives and, for example, continue to parent your children together constructively. Number 4, moving on quite quickly. Don't cope alone. Don't try to deal with all these emotions alone, especially if you're finding the struggle overwhelming. This is where professional therapeutic support outside mediation can help, which the mediator can discuss with you. The mediator will be very alert to the emotions in the room and the part they play in the decision-making process. Number 5, beware who you confide in. It is very sensible to seek out close friends who are great at listening without judging. However, the tendency may be to want allies and friends to tell you how bad your partner's been. and you'll usually find or be able to find those very willing to do so. But apart from anything else, think carefully about the position you put your friends in. They may also be friends of your former partner and their family. Of course, I completely understand that this may not be uppermost in your mind, but it's worth pausing to think about. Number 6, focus on the future. Focus on the future. It may sometimes be necessary to drag yourself away from the present and how you're feeling by focusing on the future and what needs to be sorted out for the children and financially, especially during the short periods of mediation of an hour and a half to 2 hours. Get your practical left brain working. And number 7 and final tip, take your time. Take your time. As I say, these emotions are very real and need to be worked through. It's not a race. Don't put too much pressure on yourself and your former partner for that matter, but take time to process and manage these feelings. So, in summary, number 1, seek to understand what's happened. Number 2, don't try to suppress intense emotions. Number 3, be open to accepting some responsibility. And number 4, don't try to deal with it all alone. Number 5, beware who you confide in. Number 6, focus on the future, on sorting things out for the future. Number 7, take your time. If you're able to do all these things, working with the mediator and cooperating with your former partner in a positive and constructive way, despite how you might be feeling, I'm optimistic that mediation can work for you. In my next video, I share 7 strategies that were absolutely key to me making the right decision in my own divorce, as well as helping me to work with and support hundreds of separating couples over the last 22 years. Thank you very much for watching.